Hello, welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And today I want to talk about witchcraft, being a solitary witch. I guess you could say I'm a male witch. And this is all happening because I felt the deep need to kind of like cut ties with the whole world and just get back to myself. Um, when I'm by myself, it's like a personal soul retrieval. It's like all the parts and pieces of me lost in friendships, relationships, partnerships, situations, work. It's like all that energy is out there and it's like being tied up. It's like pushed on pause as memories, as future plans. And that energy is out there with other people. There has to be a time in your life where you bring that back for your own personal empowerment to go to the next level. Like, we have to go on our journey. So, my family's pretty used to it, but like I'll disappear for 5 years. um, do my own thing. And then my friends aren't exactly used to it, but I tell them, I go, just so you know, it depends upon the nature of the relationship. Um, but I'll tell them, like, yeah, we can be close friends, but I'm going to cut that off at 8 years. 8 years is my maximum. Like, 8 years is when, if I had to learn something from you, I better have learned it. If not, farewell. I view any relationship lasting longer than 8 years is probably holding me back. Why am I relating to someone else, to a human? So, um, and this is important because I think someone who plays like truly, like, it's their life calling. You're a male witch. I'm saying male witch because I was looking for male witches online today because I had an intuition last week that I was probably going to either enroll in another mystery school and go through the grades and, you know, beginner's mind, start all over, or maybe I was actually going to dive into witchcraft. And I found this very quirky, interesting lady, and I started following her, and then she name dropped some male witch. I tried looking it up, ended up somewhere else, found this other guy. He was really cute, but drunk and acting stupid. And I was like, if you are truly exercising the power of magic, then you should have a pretty good command over your vocabulary and your presence. Like, why are you on unless, you know, so awareness, um, embodying awareness wasn't there. So then I ended up continuing my search. I found someone else, and he basically said, I would like to see more guys out there announce their magical practice and hopefully maybe something different than like Norse, uh, kind of like pagan, eclectic magic. And so I'm kind of making this video uh, to fulfill his request and then just share about my life, um, share about my journey. So one really big thing I have about magic is a lot of people are outsourcing their personal power. They might look to a teacher, they might look to a ritual, a spell, an angel or a demon, a familiar spirit, and that's all externalized power. You know, if I was going to write the book, which I plan on, creating a grimoire of magic of some type, the first part of it would be the development of the person. You have to realize you have the ability to create change in accordance with your will. And so that's magic in general. Anyone and everyone can play with magic. Um, but then we have to start going, okay, what is a witch versus, a Christian priest? They're directing their will as they mesmerize their audience, and to believe into whatever they want them to, and put money in a donation. So everyone is playing with magic. So magic can't be what defines you as a wizard. Magic can't be what defines you as special. Magic probably can't define you as a witch. So this is my understanding. What would define you as a male witch would be, one, you're male in some form. You're identifying with maleness, male power. It could be biological, it could be mental, it could be spiritual, whatever. It's very, but one, you're male. You identify with that male polarity within you. So it doesn't matter what your gender is, you're identifying as male. Two, witchcraft and the earth are kind of inseparable. Your tools, whether you take your craft into a religious format, where it gives you a spiritual fuel, it's going to be earth-based. So it's going to be the god and goddess of the earth. And so it's like you should have an instinct to be like, I need to go out in nature, maybe go rock climbing, go to this favorite cave of mine and be there, or I need my animals around me. I need to give love, or to be a part of the animal pack. So I have a few dogs or cats, whatever it is, or plants. My sister is obsessed with plants. She has a relationship with plants. It's very empathic. She has a Cancer moon in the 8th house. So gardening and plants is her thing. She's basically an enchantress of some type. And over the years and observations, she's definitely a very magical, connected, intuitive being. But she might not go around saying, oh, I'm a witch. Unfortunately, we grew up in a kind of like, I would say, a modern Christian based religious family that was pretty dogmatic. So she could never say, oh, by the way, I'm an enchantress. I'm a female magical being, however she would define it for herself. She definitely has a high priestess energy. And her whole life, she had pictures of fairies on the wall, and just loving little things, like the little intricate details of flowers and leaves and petals and dewdrops. And there's that very soft, sensitive side to her personality that only really pretty much the channeled outlet is through taking care of plants. Where me, on the other hand, her brother, mine's crystals. And it actually is animals. But after the death of my last pet, I'm kind of like not having any pets for a while because that was very hard. So right now I consider my mineral collection my pets. I have my collections of rocks and minerals and crystals and metals and all sorts of stuff. And so I literally can't imagine my life not being surrounded by the mineral world. And I'm not really thinking, oh, this crystalline rock to heal that, and for this chakra and that color. No, I just simply, it's like, it's my medicine, it's my therapy. I look at crystals the same way my sister looks at plants. I'm like, look at that little detail. Look at that odd spot. Look at this broken piece and how amazing it is already. Like the flaws can make it even more beautiful. The roughness, the natural growth, like it creates a sense of awe, wonder, inspiration. But then I really do feel the energy uh, with crystals. I notice when I have my crystals out, my room is more elevated. And I use my crystals in my meditation and my spiritual practices as something to help to enhance the direction I'm going in accordance with my will. um, so, another thing is I have to be near water. Like, it has to be within walking distance. I made a vow to myself. I'm like, if I move somewhere, I have to have access to some natural water. There has to be nature where I could get to. So for me, it feels like an emergency. I'm going to run to the river. In an emergency, I'm going to go to my favorite tree and give it a hug. You know, uh, Obviously, if I had a pet, you know, me, me and my pet, we would share the same bed and we would cuddle because maybe there was like a scary something outside. So so being a witch, uh, your tools, your resources, your supply of power is nature. You view nature as sourcing you, assisting you in all your magical doings. So, this is where we draw the real line in the sand and saying, if we are going to define witchcraft, that is it. Right there. So, if you're just doing creative visualization and energy work and symbols, you're working with energy, you're working with your own personal power, but that doesn't make you a witch. You can move that into energy arts and psychic healing. That could be something a witch uses or doesn't use, but those type of arts are kind of universal. You know, a witch can do that as well. But once again, it's nature, you know, and that includes the air, you know, breathing techniques, harnessing the air, harnessing the fire of the sun and the fire of the stars. So it's very natural. So a lot of I would say spiritual people kind of like shame the 3D experience. A witch embraces the 3D as a part of the whole experience. They're going to include all the dimensions and especially Earth because that's where we're at. And this is where we need the most support. And the Earth is right here, supporting all of us. So I feel, and so witches language, spells, that's like secondary, or that's farther down the line, and it never has to develop that way. Like, so everywhere I live, I have special trees that I form a relationship with. I recognize that tree is special to me. And I go there and say hello. I go there and I choose to sit there or walk by there, you know. Um, and so it's a friend. So, one thing about witches, it's not, honestly, I would say, someone who's really on the path, is their human relationships are not number one. They're they're not as important. It's like family, friends, great, but I have my tree and I have my mountain and I have my favorite park. And if I'm going to spend time somewhere, it's going to be in nature. It's like, do I want to watch a Netflix movie? Do I want to keep doom scrolling, on Instagram and other social media platforms? Like, am I sucked in a digital world, or is nature saying, come to me, sit at my feet, be my friend, be my brother, be my sister, be my baby, be my father, be my mother, and vice, and like, are you, so nature feeds your soul. And a lot of people forget this part and just maybe move to high magic, where the natural everything becomes symbolic. It kind of becomes mental. uh the symbol of earth is like the five-pointed star. But if you have no relationship with the earth, then when you try to use the elemental forces in their symbolic form, you're not really employing the assistance of the elements. Your relationship isn't that great. So I go by the name of onyx. It's the name of a black stone. And black is related to Bina. It's the female principle, it's the darkness, it's the void, it's space itself. It's Saturn. It's earthy energy. And without my relationship to crystals and stones and the earth and dirt, uh, that name has no power. It has no substance. It's just a lofty idea. So even in the power of names, there's no weight behind it. So I read in the metaphysical book on healing properties of onyx, and it's used for protection. And it doesn't tell you, but it actually amplifies in secret ways other stones. So you can add black onyx to any other stone you have, and it's gonna be kind of like an invisible amplifier. It's gonna support it in invisible ways, like undetectable ways. And that's actually very perfect, because I feel like a lot of my energy is undetectable. It just supports other things around it. I'm kind of lucky, I think. My luck creates prosperity around me, and hopefully some of that prosperity will support me as well. So it's kind of like an umbrella. Anyone under that shade of my umbrella gets a little boost, a little amplification, and in a very subtle way. Um, but moving on. So just because you believe in magic and just because you play with magic doesn't make you a witch. Doesn't make you a wizard. We just gotta say that again and again. And then And then I feel like most of my practice is developing and growing. And it's by aligning, attuning, sensing, and feeling things from inner planes and things from outer planes. And nature works really well for that. So, literally, holding crystals or holding a piece of wood, even holding an object and seeing how it affects my body is a meditation. It's like you're tuning in, you know, and you're seeing what it does to your body. It creates this really powerful mind, body, spirit connection. And you notice the effects. You're like, whoa, that just cleared my mind. Or all of a sudden I had a self-esteem boost. And that was once. How about let's try that next week? How about so there's this ongoing experiment and kind of like a relationship you're developing. You're not just flipping through a book and going, golden selenite helps clear and boost your self-esteem because it's yellow. No, you know, that's all head stuff. That's all superficial learning. To actually have nature in your hand, you're getting an experience. And that actually feels really good. And so it kind of makes you very, very real and clears out a lot of garbage. So if you're just mentally doing your craft, or you're just stuck with sigils and summoning, um, you're missing the living art. You're missing the living force, the animating power of magic in witchcraft. And so when you're like left to yourself, you become neutral. For a while, you might have some emotional, mental stuff come up, some physical stuff come up. And that's all like, that's a natural purging process that happens when you're just solitary. You get really, really clear with yourself. You become very balanced, very centered, very non polarized. You become like a clear crystal. Then, when anything starts to um, entertain your energy field, touch your energy, you get really clear senses of what it is. And so just being solitary, it develops your psychic abilities, because you have a really clear base, and it's you. And then everything else that's kind of not you. And it's so crystal clear, you get really strong, clear images and impressions and understanding. Being solitary and being really clean. So nature cleans your energy. Nature supports your energy. So it amplifies the direction you want to go. So basically you can say all spells are ways of supporting you in the direction you want to go, whether it's in a materialistic way, uh, you know, engaging with humans, or spiritual. And you can define which direction you want to take it. For me, I choose a spiritual path. So there's a point in your path where you're going to have to decide, am I going to walk between both worlds, balanced, be part of the human world, or am I going to polarize so much and specialize that maybe I'll stick with the spiritual realm? I'll become like a non-human being. I'll become this entity called, and I honestly feel like I lean towards being an entity. So, I prefer, nature is awesome. That's all I can say. You know, being one with the life force, being one with spiritual powers. And so you're going to sacrifice a lot of things. And that sacrifice could be very deep. And So now I'm being solitary. The pendulum is swinging, and I'm like, I literally have to give up the materialistic world for this elemental spiritual world because I tend to like the elemental spiritual world so much greater. That's a bias. That's very polarizing. It comes with a strong consequence. You know, that's a hefty bill to pay. So maybe it's better to get back center and embrace all worlds and be balanced. So, but basically, I think we've really kind of clearly defined what it is to be a male witch, and and it's not like spells all the time. It's not like recipe spells. It's not like uh silly. It's not like singing a song and dancing around the moon, and spilling wine on the ground and having wild sex. It's not like this Victorian pagan image that we all got into. It's not like conjuring entities and words and protection spells and fighting your neighbors and having a pinch of salt. Like, in my mind, that's all Hollywood, that's all drama. And the reality is, people go there. And I think it's religious people that go there. Religious people have a tendency to think all the power is outside of them. And you need to have a purpose, like, and gods and angels to assist you, and you need to curse and ward off people. And so I would say the witch's way is, I avoid all that and I'm kind of impervious to all that because I've chosen nature. um and nature includes the stars and space. So it includes a living universe. I'm in relationship with that, and it's kind of like family. So what these other people are feeling and thinking don't matter. If it doesn't matter, it doesn't enter my space. And if it does, it doesn't stay because there's nothing to attach to. Like, my feelings, my aren't that important. My thoughts about you and judgments and my my political values, not important. I'm talking to a tree, or I'm, feeling spiritual powers. I'm working with energy. So my concerns are more towards the development of my relationship with fire, water, earth, and air, the living earth, living plants, my living body. And I feel like this is really important to go over. We see a lot of people abusing their bodies, whether it's whatever it is. It might be triggering for you to hear this, but your body is of the earth. And if you really care about the earth, you should care about your body. Consciousness, awareness, elemental beings, they're living, and you're living, and your body is living. And so if you really care about these elemental beings, you also care about your body. So there's love, there's healing, there's care, there's wisdom and understanding. And so I can look at someone and be like, okay, you're out of alignment with the earth, you're out of alignment with your body. And so I would assume you're out of alignment with yourself, with the universe, and your craft. So there's some alignment that needs to happen. There's some reconditioning and some deprogramming that has to happen. Like, you may have these great ideas about yourself, but you're not living it. So, if you're only a witch on the weekend, in my mind, you're not a witch. You know, uh, it's a 24-hour life experience. It's a calling And it's like a fish in water. It's natural. And I feel everyone can create that for themselves and it will be unique. My sister, I would say, is way more connected to that than me. But I'm not limited to or singularly a witch. Um, and then this is just kind of offhanded, but maybe a sign that you're a witch is all your friends are witches. I tend to be interested in what witches are doing. It's like, mathematicians kind of hang out with mathematicians and solve problems. So you have similar hobbies and interests. Same with your friends. So, and just kind of the last thing, I don't, I am very, very clear that um, without all the gods, without religion and beliefs, I'm still a being of power and very interested in the earth and life and nature. So I don't put Jesus in the mix. I don't need to put a god or a goddess in the mix. I don't need to put a belief system in there. My magic works anyways. And I feel like the hallmark of a really powerful witch is they don't need magic at all. They're fine with their own body. They're fine with life. They're fine with living and dying and having those conversations, knocking on your neighbor's door, telling him to turn down the music. It doesn't need to be passive aggressive spell casting, you know, or creating a story and a meaning for things. Like that's getting into like paranoia and storytelling, you know. And so I feel like the more I grow in my power, the less I need magic for anything. It's like my willpower is so strong due to devotion to my meditation and knowing who I am that I automatically deflect, negativity. And I'm so clear that I'm not entertaining low level experiences. So just the power of my choices automatically. So I take a lot of ownership in developing me as a human being in the human experience, having my own morality compass, having my own